It's time for the final legendary banner of the year. Let's see who we end up with. It could be someone like Camilla, or it could be someone completely out of left field. It's Camilla. What a surprise. Somehow everybody knew. Everybody knew it was going to be Camilla somehow. Everybody just came to consensus. So we have a water legendary that has the attack buff, and we have a green flying mage. Okay, interesting. I think our art is good. I don't think it's as good as like Brave Camilla, but it's pretty solid. Let's go ahead and jump into her pre-RF weapon. Okay, so we have Bewitching Tome. This has Canto 1. You get Slaying, of course. If Camilla initiates combat or the foe's range equals 2, as the combat begins, so like kind of like a Flared Sparrow effect, she will do X% of the foe's attack before combat. So like, this is like essentially super Flared Sparrow, and it's going to be based off either 40% of the foe's attack or 20% based off if she has weapon triangle advantage or if she's faster than them. So I'm going to assume Camilla's pretty fast here, and a lot of times you're going to get 40% of the foe's attack before combat like really begins, right? Like, it's that Flared Sparrow true damage, which you can't mitigate, and that's really, really scary. Now, it can't kill the unit, it like can bring him down to 1 HP, but even so, if you combine that with like, I don't know, an AoE special, like, you're doing so much combat damage before like the fight actually begins, it's kind of nuts. You're also going to get additional stats, plus 5 to all stats if you initiate combat with the foe's range equals 2. You get an additional bonus to your attack and speed equal to 20% of Camilla's speed at start of combat. So the visible speed, she'll get 20% of that. And then she also gets 30% damage reduction against the foe's first attack, and she restores 7 HP after combat. This weapon already seems really strong. You're getting a lot of like the things you need. You're essentially getting like a better form of true damage, and then you're getting some stats and more stats and some damage reduction and even some healing. So overall, pretty solid. We have Draconic Aura, Roomboat Sparrow, so stacking that damage reduction. But then we also have our new Preference B skill, Spoil Rotten. And what this essentially does is at start of the turn, if Camilla's HP is greater than equal to 25%, she's going to inflict speed and resistance -7 and sabotage on the closest foe and any foe within 2 spaces of them through their next action. So this is essentially like global range, right? Like whoever is the closest, they're going to get debuffed, and that's a pretty big debuff. Sabotage can be pretty strong, but that's not it. She's also going to grant herself and her allies within 2 spaces a visible buff that gives damage reduction halving. That's right, you can now have a visible buff giving out that damage halving, which is just absolutely absurd. She's also going to get additional stats of speed and res -5 on the foe for HP is greater than 25%. She gets offensive no fall and anti-guard. So this unit's already looking just completely and utterly disgusting. She's going to be a very powerful nuke, and there's not going to be much she can really do. She's going to be able to trigger her specials very consistently. She's going to do a ton of damage with that like super Flared Sparrow essentially, and she gets damage reduction having as a flying mage, which still isn't completely common yet. So like, she's already just looking horrifying. But that's not all. She's also going to introduce a new tier 4 C skill, Deadly Miasma. If your unit initiates combat, you get -5 to all stats on them, and you get to a full duel effect. So you're going to neutralize all the foe's bonuses, like all those visible stats. You'll also deal 7 damage after combat to the target and foes within 2 spaces, and you introduce a new terrain type, Divine Vein Haze, on the unit and any spaces within 2 spaces. So what this essentially does, this new terrain, is that it constantly has a -5 to all stats on any foe inside that terrain, and you also get a duel effect on their bonuses as well. This is essentially like a tier 4 version of like Savage Blow, which is kind of cool because Camilla was one of the first units to introduce that. And this thing is just an insane skill. This is completely and utterly bonkers. Like, you're getting so many stats out of it. You're like nullifying bonuses, which is really, really powerful, and it's all bonuses. And then you're even getting a little bit of splash damage as well. Like, this is really good. Now, the one thing, of course, is that you don't want to combine this with Flared Sparrow, because then the 2 terrains will override each other, and then you won't really get both effects. So that is something to consider, but I do think this is really, really powerful, and I'm interested to see who can inherit it. Overall, Camilla's looking to be a very powerful nuke. That's going to be the main role she's really going for, right? She just does an absolutely ridiculous amount of damage, and it's just kind of disgusting what she can really do. She also does offer some support. Obviously, that damage reduction having support is like invaluable to a lot of types of units who don't have access to that typically, and even units who do have access to it, it's going to just be a really good way to like stack it up, because it can stack as a visible bonus, and then you can also stack it with like magic no follow-up, or like physical no follow-up, or even the tempo force. And so when you have that, you have like 75% damage reduction on every hit, and that's just kind of disgusting, right? So this unit is looking insanely powerful, and I definitely expect to see a lot of her in different game modes. Speaking of which, I definitely do think she will be showing up in summer duels, as she's going to be a very powerful nuke, and as a flyer you can like swap out Deadly Miasma and go for like something like Guidance 4 or Soaring Guidance, and then in that case you could use Flared Sparrow, which might be her optimal build for SD. I could also see her just being absolutely amazing in Arena as well, as she's just going to be able to nuke essentially everything, and she has Kanto 1, so she'll be able to get out of the way too. I mean, this unit's just looking really good. Okay, let's move on to the rest of the banner and talk about which colors are the best. Okay, the best color on the banner for me absolutely has to be green. Green is just insanely busted. First of all, you do get Legendary Camilla, who's looking to be an absolutely fantastic nuke while also offering invaluable support. But then you also get Brave Soren, one of the best supports in the game, offering that unique save support, as well as one of the best fodders in the game, offering Flare and Magic No Follow-up as well, meaning he's just an absolute goldmine of fodder. And on top of that, you get Legendary Alir, who is arguably the best Omni take in the entire game, and also offers really valuable support in damage reduction piercing. So overall, you just can't lose in green. It's like a gold mine of 5 stars. Under that, I'm going to put red. Red is just really stacked as well. You get 2 very good legendaries in Legendary Alencia, who is one of the best support units in the entire game right now, due to her like Guidance 5 and also just her ability to nuke pretty much everything. You have Legendary Veronica, who's a very solid nuke, and also scores quite high in Arena. And then lastly, you have Brave Robin, once again one of the best supports in the entire game, and a gold mine of fodder as well, because he has Gambit, an extremely powerful damage reduction effect that also gives true damage. So like, you can't really lose in red either. If you're trying to go for scoring purposes, you are getting 2 really good arena scoring units, and then you're also getting amazing fodder in Brave Robin if you get him. After that, I'm going to go with blue. Once again, blue also very busted. You get Ratatosker, our new Astra Mythic, who's going to help you score in Arena Season, and she's an amazing support. You get Deirdre, who is a good nuke, but definitely not like a top tier nuke. She's kind of more like a bulky unit who can do really well against dragons and some ranged units. But then you also get Brave Golveg, who is like one of the best Gale Forcers in the entire game. Just absolutely fantastic in Aether Raid's offense, and she has Flared Sparrow fodder as well. So if you need that, that's a great pickup. In last place, I'm going to have Colorless. Colorless obviously isn't bad either though. You have Asker, who's one of the most meta light mythics in the game currently, who just works on pretty much every team. You have Medius, who's one of the most meta dark mythics in the game, but you really don't need merges on him. So like, that's, if you already have a copy of him, you really don't need to pull more copies. But then lastly, we also have Brave Corrin, who is one of the better far saves in the game as well, and she has counter roar fodder, so if you're going for that, you're going to get some good stuff. Overall, this entire banner is just pretty busted, and you're getting really good value out of it if you are pulling. With that said, let's move on to the Water Legendary tier list. So when it comes to the Water Legendary tier list, I think I have to put Legendary Camilla in 2nd place. Now, overall, she does definitely score better, so if you're going for like arena scoring, she's going to be the best probably. Her and Minion will be the 2 best options you have, as they both score extremely well. But if you're looking at like an overall perspective, I do think Legendary Chrom just has more value than Camilla does, because man, To Change Fate is just completely busted, and his Revive makes him an excellent nuke. So you're just going to be using Legendary Chrom in pretty much every game mode. Now, Camilla is very good, do not misunderstand. She's going to offer some really great things for pretty much every game mode as well, and I could definitely see her being one of the top tier nukes in the game, so it is possible that she ends up proving to be better than Legendary Chrom. But historically, you know, To Change Fate has just proven to be one of the best skills ever added, so I'm going to put her in 2nd place, which is still really good. Under that, we're going to have Ninian, who is still one of my favorite dancers in the entire game, with her Self Gale Force, which is really good in like Gale Force strategies as well as in Arena. In S tier, we have Dimitri, who got an excellent refine. I think, you know, even I underrated it a little bit. It's proven to be very good. It made him really fun to play with. We have Legendary Zero, once again, just a really good dancer. Legendary Leaf, who has been proving me kind of wrong and has gotten like better with time somehow. It's kind of cool. And then in the A tier, we have Legendary Guinevere, definitely like not the best legendary. She's definitely like not aged really well, considering that she came out like 6 months ago, but even so, she is usable. We have Byleth, Sheeta, and Erica, all units who can be good, but definitely need a lot of investment. And then down in B tier, we have Ryoma and Fjorm, who aren't terrible, but definitely not the units you're going to really want to be going for. Okay, with that, let's move on to the final part of the video, should you pull? Okay, so when it comes to should you pull, some of the pros here is that this banner is absolutely stacked. Like, every single color has a lot of value. Green is just ridiculously good. Like, you cannot lose in green, which is saying a lot. So if you're going to be going in, green is a great color to pull on, because it not only has like really good units, but also the best summoning rates. So that's awesome. You also have amazing red share in there. Red is just absolutely good. Blue's also really good. Colorless is a little bit more on the downside, but even so, you're just getting a really good share no matter what you're pulling on. You also get an absolutely ridiculous plethora of good fodder. Holy crap, the amount of fodder you can get here. You can get aerial maneuvers, you can get gambit, you can get attack speed pledge. There's just everything you could want is on this banner, and so pulling on here even just to get some skills will really help you out as well. Now when it comes to cons, the thing is that we are like in the middle of amazing banner season. Like we have the new mythic banner for like book 8 up with Ratatoskr, which has a lot of value. We also just have the winter banner, which has 4 sparks, and all those units are fantastic. And then we also have the New Year's banner coming up pretty soon, which typically has some fantastic units as well. So my overall advice is to wait if you can. This banner lasts quite a while, so you'll be able to see the New Year's banner to see what units are on there. And then if you don't want any of those units, or if you don't want to pull for the winter units, then I would recommend pulling here. If you are a Fay Pass subscriber, I do recommend sparking because this banner just has such good value. Even if you go like full color circles, just to spark and spend like 160 orbs, you're probably going to get your value out of it. And you can also pick any of these amazing units as your spark. So if you are a Fay Pass subscriber, I would recommend pulling once you see the New Year's banner and make sure that none of your favorites are there. Overall, Legendary Camilla is looking great, but now I'd love to hear from you. What do you think of this banner? Are you excited to pull for some of your favorites? Are you excited for Legendary Camilla? Do you think she will continue to break the game after the winter banner? Either way, I'd love to hear from you, so make sure to drop a comment down below, let me know how you feel. As always, I'd like to thank all my members for their constant support. This has been Oblivion. I'll catch you all later.